What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 3 Points Podcast. It's officially the end of the NBA season, start of the off season. Finals just ended. So we're in, for a long summer, no NBA action, but there is still stuff to talk about. Today, we're going to be talking about obviously the finals, doing a little bit of a review. We're going to be talking about who we think top 10 point guards in the league are, especially accounting for Jamal Murray's emergence in the postseason and where we think that puts him. And then we're
Mhm.
going to be talking a little bit about free agency because obviously look ahead to next season. That's where everything's at right now.
So I guess the format we could take for this, if you want to, do you want to do a finals review first, I guess,
We
or
we we, we probably should.
yeah,
It
I
is
think
the most important, most recent. You know,
you have any thoughts in particular you want to get out there? I mean, the Nuggets utterly destroyed their Western Conference, and same with the Heat, destroyed them all. So
yeah. I guess just to start with, like, props to the Nuggets. I mean, what are you gonna say? It's just they didn't really face a real challenge.
yeah,
It kind of makes for boring, content to cover and boring series to watch. But you kind of have to just shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, I mean, they were just better,
I
head and
couldn't
shoulders
find
better than
Annapolis
everybody
in
else.
your Apple Music library.
Oh no, oh no.
it's a very
Um, but yeah, no, they were just head and shoulders better than everybody else, and that's kind of all there is to it. I mean, you could get into like the nitty gritty of it. Obviously, like Jamal Murray and Jokic, nobody really was able to figure out in any meaningful way
yeah.
how to stop the two-man game. That was like a lot of their offense. It was that, and then playing off of that into the other actions is mostly catch and shoot from KCP and Michael Porter Jr. and you know Aaron Gordon had his couple moments where he was looking like Charles Barkley.
He's the third best
Um,
player on the team. Yeah.
yeah, it. I mean, it's just one of those things where every single one of their players had played up. No, not a single guy on the roster, with the exception of maybe Michael Porter Jr., who didn't have a great finals,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much had one of the best series of their lives and one of the best playoffs of their lives, and were looking like the best version of themselves at the right time. And that's how you get a team that just never faces a challenge.
Yeah, and it's really kind of crazy, like looking at the teams they faced. The Suns took them, or they won the most games against them. 2 games took them to six, but it felt like they were the team that got blown out the most because when they lost to the
Yeah,
Nuggets, it was like brutal how badly they lost. It was just like Denver
yeah,
shooting insane whenever they did win.
I, yeah. I mean, well, okay. Well, I mean, that's the thing about that kind of offense is like when you're running your offense through one guy and just being all right, go shoot like 28 of 40 from the field and wins the game. Like, A, it's not sustainable, but B, also he's just gonna get tired. Like you
Yeah,
could tell by like game 5 and 6 of that series. I mean, he was just running on fumes.
yeah,
And meanwhile, the Nuggets, they have like 4 or 5 guys that are getting shots up regularly and are getting time with the ball in their hands. And no one player is having to, space, ISO, take 20 dribbles, hit fadeaways, pull up jumpers constantly, which is what I mean. Devin Booker obviously was like carrying, but KD was also, ISOing a lot, which
yeah, yeah,
takes a lot of energy. And then you have two guys who are going back down on defense who are just absolutely gassed because they
yeah,
had the ball for 20 seconds last possession, and that doesn't help either. And then you factor in like the altitude going up to Denver makes everybody more tired.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like the Suns did not have the necessary depth to hang with Denver for more than like 4 or 5 games, really.
Hopefully Frank Vogel can change things around for them, but I mean, because I
I
think a good defense is what they really need. I mean, offensively, like as people said even before the series started, and it's still true now that on paper they are a good offensive team. It's just like defensively they could not defend Denver. Like
well,
it took KD and Devin Booker can be plus defenders, but when they're doing everything on the offensive end, like there's not really any energy they can expend on the offensive
yeah,
end.
I mean, absolutely. And then I mean, the other thing is like CP3 did get injured. Like that did play a role. I
Yeah,
mean, it's no coincidence they did. I think they were like a
but I don't think it
two.
changes the series.
I don't think it changed the series necessarily, but it is worth noting they lost. They lost the 2 games that ended up losing in the series after he got hurt, and like that did play a role. The other thing is like you're talking about plus defenders. CP3, I think for the first time in his career, really looked like a negative on defense. He's getting so much slower. I
Yeah.
mean, he's 38, obviously, and it really hurts you on the defensive end. He's a guy who like he's gonna play good offense. He's gonna like no matter what, because a lot of it's just like the basketball IQ. He's gonna be making the reads.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the defensive end, when you're already 6 feet and now you're old and slow and like are getting blown by and stuff, it was looking pretty ugly.
Or he
At
has
least from
to
the games I was
contest the
watching.
Michael Porter pull-up shot. Like he can't. It's not really like in his. I don't know. He can't do that. Like get ran out of the court that way. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was always pretty cool. Like he was like one of the only guys who was able to be a true plus defender at like 6 feet, like
yeah,
for a long time. Like
there's prime. Yeah.
you could count on him. You could count on him to be like an all defensive level guard at 6 feet, and obviously play, all NBA level offense.
Yeah.
But that's not really true anymore. That obviously is a huge reason why they've taken a step back since like 2021.
Yeah.
That and the fact that DeAndre Ayton has like lost something. I don't know.
I don't
I don't
really
know
know. I
what.
mean,
The
hopefully he
heart,
has
the
all the
fighter,
yeah,
the
he has all the
dog.
tools to be a good defender. Like he's 7 feet tall. He could be a great rim protector. It's not like with KD or Devin Booker where you understand why they're tired on the defensive end because they're giving everything on the offensive end. Like DeAndre, he's not even like posting up really enough to
No.
warrant how little effort he really shows. So hopefully Frank Vogel can kind of
Yeah.
instill
Yeah. I
that.
mean, he has had like interview clips where he was like, "What do you expect me to do?" It's like I don't know, like grab a rebound,
Yeah.
post, try it, try like a post hook or something. Throw in a little bit of muscle, throw in a little bit of
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
That he wasn't really doing that. But
Like what the move is for them this offseason. I mean, it's kind of easy to just say like get good defensive personnel, but that's kind of hard to come by for cheap. And yeah, Devin Booker and like DeAndre, he's also on a max, right? Probably.
something like that. He's on like I think he might literally be on a max.
Well, yeah, wasn't that the whole like big deal last year? Like he almost left, but then Phoenix matched it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean that's what max contracts do. They put teams in a bind because you kind of get put into this position where you either you have a guy who's like a borderline max level player, but you either give him a max to keep him or you just let him walk, and that it kind of becomes like a real conundrum.
yeah.
And so you see that with a guy like DeAndre Ayton. Now he's on a max contract, and all of a sudden like
Is he
he's
worth it?
not even close. Yeah, he's not even close to a max caliber
Yeah.
player, at least with the way he played this postseason. But like that's what the max contracts do. They kind of force you to make that decision. So they've locked themselves in now, and hopefully Frank Vogel can know I knock some sense into him, I guess, or do whatever he needs to do.
I mean, I think this is
But
a good transition into what other teams, especially like specifically the Miami Heat in particular, and what other teams like just in general, what can they do to kind of like slow down the Nikola Jokic? Because in my opinion, I thought the Lakers would have the best chance because it seemed like AD matches up pretty well against Jokic, and they have a bunch of big bodies that they can throw at him. Like it's not like I think Miami's real downfall was that they were too small, and by the end of it, Bam and Jimmy were just kind of getting wear down, like guarding. Yeah, you could see
yeah,
like game 5, Jimmy passed like everything on because he's just gassed. But I thought the Lakers like Rui, LeBron, AD, like those are big bodies, and somehow they kind of they did get swept, which is like that is kind of insane that they dominated the Lakers.
I mean, part of it was Jamal Murray. Like
Yeah,
that was kind of like obviously he had a good finals, but I think that Lakers series was really like his true coming out party. Like that was his like I'm here moment.
yeah,
Especially that one game where I mean pretty much single handedly won them the game. It wasn't even like in the flow of the offense. He was kind of just like pulling the ball out, isolation. All right, I'm just gonna take a little step back, hit a three from like 28 feet, and just do that again. Like he did that like 3 times in a row, and kind of took the game and kind of like kept building up the lead
yeah.
until it
He is
was insurmountable.
a playoff
It was like
superstar.
it was like 5 straight possessions where he was just isoing, taking threes, beating guys off the dribble. And you're talking about like the size they have. I think that's part of how the Nuggets won that series is that while the size, I mean, I don't even know. It didn't really help them stop Jokic. Like he still had a great series,
Yeah, yeah, he
but
did.
it helped. It certainly helped Jamal Murray feast a bit more because it's when Jamal Murray is able to pull out the ball on 38-year-old LeBron. and ISO with him on the perimeter, like
Yeah.
that's not a favorable matchup for the Lakers. Like, I mean, I just my mind keeps flashing back to like that one specific shot he hit where LeBron just kind of standing there in defense and he's like
Yeah, it's just like
letting him just he's just like, all right, take the step back three. You're not gonna make it. And John Ray's like, all right, I'll just hit it.
he's just like
I don't
a
know what you want me to
tough
do.
shot maker. Like I know in Miami, I forget which one. One of the games was like kind of close, and like it seemed like Miami was always like just out of reach, and he just would rip their heart out. Like every time you think they're gonna get a defensive
Dude,
stop, he just hits a insane step back three. And it's not luck. Like at this point, it's not. This is who
no, no.
he is. He is a playoff performer. This
I mean, absolutely. There was like that one. It was like game four, or maybe game three or four, but it was through. I remember it was very like vividly. It was 37-33 Heat, and the Nuggets looked lost on offense. And like I think it was like JVG. He was talking about like the Heat have found something here, and Jamal Murray just kind of like he's like dribbling, and all of a sudden he just like kind of turns around, pulls out, like kind of hits runs to the side, hits this weird ass leaning three, and just bang. And all of a sudden it's 36-37, and then it's like they just found the rhythm in offense
yeah.
with
Yeah.
that one shot. And it wasn't in the flow of the offense at all. It wasn't like off a screen. It was just him going, all right, I'm just gonna take the tough shot and I'm gonna hit it, and I'm gonna get everybody fired up, and we're gonna get this shit up like going,
Yeah, I mean,
which is what the great players do. I mean, it's what Jokic can do, but having two guys that can do that, like, yeah,
they really are like the perfect complementary star. I mean, there's a tons of players throughout history that like play alongside each other perfectly, and they are now one of those top two
they
duos.
really are. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a certain pairing in Golden State.
Yes.
I
Steph,
mean, Steph and Draymond is what I'm talking about. Obviously, Steph and KD was also a fun duo, but like Steph and Draymond have the synergy with that. I mean, you can see like when Jamal Murray and Jokic they're on that pick and roll, and Jamal Murray's kind of snaking around and having like the little hesitation dribbles and like using the head fakes until all of a
yeah.
sudden boom he just finds Jokic and Jokic pops that little like 15 foot over the shot put jumper and boom it's just like it's
I mean, they
it's
maximize
really
each other's potential. It's
yeah
really
when they are playing together and they're on it looks unstoppable
it is. I
and
mean,
at least nobody's figured out a way to not make it look unstoppable you know but
he,
that I guess that kind of segues into one of like our big topics because we get back to free agent stuff because there's more to talk about. But I feel like since we're already talking about Jamal Murray so much, one of the topics we really wanted to discuss was like, all right, given this playoff run that he just went on, where does that vault him now amongst the ranks of the top point guard? Because point guard in the NBA is kind of like one of those positions where
very
even
deep.
top 10, it's tough to crack. There are a lot of quality point guards in the league, very, very deep. You're talking about like Dame, Luca, Shea, Steph, Kyrie, Ja, Trey, all these guys. And where does he fit among them? I have my list. I know you have yours. We just like get right into it.
You want to do
I'm
like
assuming
10, 10,
I'm a
10,
10 to
9?
1. I feel like we can both spoil one though, because I know we have the same guy,
Yeah. Steph.
Steph.
Yeah.
But okay, other than that, let's start at 10. All right.
Okay. So my 10 is I have Kyrie Irving at my number 10 spot. Yeah.
Ah. Well,
I mean,
all right. Well, I have Jalen Brunson at my number 10 spot.
really, wow. That's kind of a
I have
hater.
Kyrie. Something tells me you have Brunson much higher than I have
Yeah.
him, and I have Kyrie much higher than you have him because I'm a Kyrie fan and you're a Brunson fan. So it
You're not
kind of
gonna
evens
take
out.
into account the playoffs? I mean, Kyrie is
I
great in
I
playoffs,
am taking
but
into account.
Brunson.
I am taking into account the playoffs. I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment. Okay, here's the thing about Jalen Brunson. He did have, I would say, out of
Two
everybody
great
in the NBA,
series. Even when he lost to the
yeah, I was gonna say out of everybody in the NBA, I think you could make a case of him as like having a maybe top five, like top seven playoffs out of anybody in the NBA. Like he was absolutely looked like a top five guy in the NBA in the
yeah.
playoffs. In pure this year's playoffs alone performance, but this year's playoffs are not the only thing you have to take into account. He still has, at least to me, he has some limitations in his game. He first off, he's a small point guard.
I mean,
He's
Kyrie.
not a okay. Well, okay, so that's I was gonna get into that. Okay, he's not a negative on defense, but and I hope you agree with me on this. He as as great of an offensive player as he has turned himself into, he still at his peak is nowhere near the level of a playmaker and shot creator that somebody like Kyrie is. Agree or disagree?
I
Maybe
mean, I
not
think
nowhere near, but he cannot touch Kyrie at his peak. At least not yet. Not this version of him.
I think I think Jalen Brunson's greatest like strength is, and I mean obviously Kyrie's better in ISO, but Jalen Brunson's facilitating, I think, and like in pick and roll, he is like elite, and I think he is better than Kyrie in pick and roll. Like that's his whole game,
That
like
is true.
using screens, and it has translated in the playoffs. Obviously, he was like the only player to. I mean, in that in the first round against the Cavs, he definitely the Knicks are kind of
He,
clicking.
I
Other
mean,
than
talk about ISO scoring. He was scoring in isolation like repeatedly. He was over and over and over.
yeah,
They were
and
going to him in
there was like
isolation. He was
one of the Cavs games in Cleveland. He kind of like he iced the game
he
using.
literally did,
So
and
he's
it was kind of like an old. He was kind of almost playing it like a bit more old school too. He was going to the post a lot
and he does have a
and
post
hitting
game.
fadeaways, and he has a real post game, which is not that common for point guards in this. In like the '90s and 2000s,
Yeah,
point guards we posting up all the time, but like now, I have to admit, it was kind of fun. It was like because he's taking a little bit of a vintage approach, and the shots he was hitting were very tough. But again, to try not to be a prisoner of the moment, I don't think if going into the playoffs, most people would have had him any higher than 10. So
but
what I
playoffs
am
do play
saying
a
is,
role.
what I'm saying is, playoffs do play a role. Now let's see, does he carry it into next season? I will not be ashamed. I will happily move him up 4 or 5 spots if he carries it into next season and leads them to a 50 plus win, maybe 55 plus win season, which is what a higher ranked, like a top 5 point guard in the league would do, because most of those guys are like true bona fide superstars.
Yeah,
I think Jalen Brunson at this point is more just kind of like a franchise player, star type guy. But that's why I have him at 10. Because again, I think if we're going solely on these playoffs, I could make an argument for him at like 5 or 6.
yeah.
But I'm
I
trying not
mean,
to do that.
I think the thing with Jalen Brunson that he kind of has an advantage is like he actually has a real team, and in the regular season, he definitely has a. I mean, actually, Luke is a better co-star, but Julius Randle is a legit co-star, and they have much better depth. Like, I mean, you can agree the
You're
Knicks
not gonna like how
better.
high I have Kyrie. You're
I
not gonna
mean,
like how I have Kyrie. Also, important point. I put both Kyrie and Luka on my list. I know they play on the same team, so how can they
yeah,
both be
same,
point guards?
same.
But it's like in my head, they're still both point guards. So did you do that too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just had to
So
get that
I
out of the
think
way.
so. You just is your thing like you haven't seen enough from Jalen Brunson? Like he still needs to do more,
Yes,
but like what else? Like he led them to
he,
the second
he
round.
needs to. He needs to stretch out a bit. All right. Okay. Two playoff series is a grand total of what? 14. Let me again.
Three
Wait,
playoff.
no, not even
Wait,
14.
wait, wait.
5 plus 6 is 11.
Two,
He only
two
played
this
11.
year, two this year, and last year against the Jazz,
Okay, he
and
wasn't. He was good last year. He was not a top 10 point guard last year. What? Come on.
he was great last year when he
He was good. Top
Without
10.
Luca, that playoff series was great. It's probably on par with these playoff series.
I. That's not true.
Without Luca, how do you explain like how he carries them past the Jazz? I'm not saying he played like that all
That
season.
that Jazz team was ready to kill each other. They Donovan Mitchell was like staring at Rudy Gobert and just giving the middle finger and refusing to pass.
But he's
They
showing
were like
he is a playoff performer. He's proven that like last year,
he is
and
a playoff performer. He is a playoff performer. But again, okay, again, let's go
he didn't get swept.
to the next couple spots on our list. We need to remember who we're talking about that we're comparing him to.
Fair.
I'm looking at this list. There's not a single guy on here who has not had a better playoff series, or at least a comparable playoff series to the one that Brunson just had, except for the guy I have at 9, who which is De'Aaron Fox,
Darren
who
Fox.
I would say probably did not perform up to the standard of Jalen Brunson in this playoffs, although he did play well.
He did,
But
yeah.
I would say in the regular season, he was just maybe like a shade above him, and so that's why I like they're to me they're pretty much the same caliber player right
Yeah.
now.
There's
But I
kind of
just
like
kind of put,
in this point
yeah
guard list, there's like a few tiers that are like
yeah
they're interchangeable. Like from my number 9 is Trey Young. So yeah, I mean he had a
that's
pretty good series against the Celtic. Actually, very good series against the
He had a
Celtics.
very good series.
Yeah.
I guess I'll spoil it. I have him at 8.
Or,
Um, I would say him, Brunson, and Fox. You could kind of make a real argument for is like kind of the like their own solid tier of guys who are just kind of under the surface of being like real like bona fide superstars
yeah, yeah,
and like because they're all franchise players. They've all at this point in their careers put together legitimate playoff performances that make you think they could potentially be a number one option on a team that makes a deep chance. I mean, Trae Young literally was a number one option on a team that they made a deep playoff run, and they all have all. Yeah, I mean, actually, I guess Jalen Brunson's kind of more on. He's on the biggest, I guess, the biggest upward trajectory of them.
yeah,
Trae
yeah.
Young has kind of hit like a lull, and
I think we
De'Aaron
kind of
Fox.
know who Trae Young is at this point. Like he can get better for sure,
Let's
but
not count him out. He
uh,
can he can get more efficient. He really can. I really think he
yeah,
can.
yeah, I think he
I think if
can.
he gets a bit smarter with the shot selection, because he's such a good passer. He needs to cut out like one or two of those like dumbass 32 footers a game,
Yeah, yeah.
which he's
I was
already
gonna
done
say
since his
that.
like
Yeah,
rookie sophomore season. He's cut some of them out. He needs to cut more of them out, and he really I would say like he should be playing more like Steve Nash than Steph Curry, if that makes sense.
yeah,
There's kind of like a spectrum from Steve Nash to Steph Curry, and he wants to be like on like the Steph Curry side. But I really think his true skill set is more on the Steve Nash side, where he's a big shot maker, but not necessarily always a volume shot maker.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he's more of a facilitator. It's somebody who can truly run the offense through, but who's not going to be taking, you know, the same, I don't know how to say it. But he's not going to be taking the same amount of shots as like a Steph or a Dame or a Jaw or any one of those guys.
yeah. I mean, I think definitely DeJounte Murray was not really the right fit, unfortunately,
He
because
wasn't, and I and
it wasn't the
I
idea that Trey would play off ball, but he ended up just like not playing off ball at all.
yeah okay. I mean, the idea was like it was like first off, Trae Young is a bad defender, so you pair
Yeah,
him with a guard
yeah,
who's a good defender. That was I think the biggest thing was like, I mean, obviously that's gonna work. Kind of did, but not to the extent I think people want. And the other was like, well, I mean, they're both talented offensive players. Trae Young, he's a good shooter, so he can play out ball. Like they'll figure it out. But it's like it's not that simple.
yeah,
Trae
yeah,
Young wants his. Dejounte Murray wants his. Trae Young, because he's Trae Young and he's the guy on the team, he's gonna get his. And so what I think I saw a lot of Hawks fans complaining about is that DeJounte Murray was really the guy who would just be standing there doing nothing because he had zero experience playing off ball. I mean, in San Antonio, I mean, they sucked, but
he
he
was
was
the
the
guy.
guy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was the guy. And he's not really an elite spot up shooter. So that's
He
the
has
kind
that
of thing
mid
you'd expect.
range.
Yeah, you'd expect the guard just playing off ball the most that to be primarily a spot up shooter. Like that's not his game. Playoffs, they figured it out a bit. They were starting to mesh a bit more, and you saw that like because
Yeah,
they did put together a decent playoff run, all things considered.
I mean they kind of just took
Um,
advantage of Celtics like
Celtics
inability to
being
close out
coached
games, but
like yeah, being coached by like a rock. But um, I think the Dejounte Murray experiment is gonna have at least you kind of have to give it another year
yeah,
because I mean Trae Young's still young enough where you have
gotta
that
fail.
cushion.
But yeah,
But it's like if it fails, like I mean, Dejounte Murray's gonna be the one that's done. It's not gonna be Trae Young. So,
but I think
but
yeah, I
anyways,
just have a sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say like I was gonna try to get back to this. But if you had another point to make
I
it.
was gonna say like I do agree that I think Jalen Brunson can get more better than Trey Young can get better. Like I think Trey, like you said, he can definitely get more efficient, but he does have defensive limitations,
Oh yeah,
and Jalen Brunson doesn't really have those as much. Like he definitely is a short guard for sure. He's like 6'1".
that's the one limitation that. But again, like we were talking about Chris Paul. If Chris Paul can do it, so can anybody else.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah. Anyways, back
yeah, no,
on.
I would say that at this point in their careers, Jalen Brunson has a higher ceiling than Trey Young, but
He also has a better team too.
but I would not say it's guaranteed he reaches a higher ceiling than Trey Young.
Yeah, fair.
It's certainly not a case where it's clear cut that he's going to become better. I think he has the pieces and like the profile, the physical profile, the IQ and all that stuff can potentially like if he puts it all together. I
Yeah.
mean Trey Young, he's still ice Trey. So
And also the Knicks to
let's give
reach
him his
their,
respect.
I think that for the Knicks to really reach their peak,
Yeah, I mean also the Knicks
Julius
are like
Randle
they're like a
should,
well run organization. They
yeah,
have pieces around him. They have Thibs, who has proven himself to be. I
A
don't know
good
if he's
defensive coach. It's
he's
like
he's a good coach. Like he's the kind of guy you can trust to like you know give at least like keep it together.
yeah.
Whereas Trey was kind of subjected to Nate McMillan, who
Well,
very obviously
that is
he was
also
in
kind of
over his
another thing. Like
what?
that is kind of another thing. Like with his, is that like a Trey Young problem? I mean, Nate McMillan is not a perfect coach, but
I mean,
did he have a coach before Nate McMillan that he also ran out? So
well, I mean that's okay. I mean Trey Young, I like Trey Young. Let's maybe they're just bad coaches. Quinn Snyder, I think,
yeah,
seemed to have figured some stuff out.
yeah,
He came in. I mean, look, the reality is like if you're reading some of the interviews, like it was not just Trey Young. The entire locker room had kind of turned against Nate McMillan, and they were like openly saying like we
yeah,
finally have a guy in here who knows what he's doing. I mean, again, it's one of I no disrespect to Nate McMillan. Like obviously they're bitter and they're it's probably not that bad, but like they clearly the guys on the roster clearly saw that Nate McMillan had figured some stuff out that oh god, Quinn Snyder figured some stuff out that Nate McMillan was not able to.
yeah,
So
yeah. He is a Quinn Snyder's known for being a good offensive coach, right? I think.
he
So,
is.
so I mean, I guess that
He
kind of
yeah, he
maximized
was.
Trey Young, I guess. So
I mean, he did kind of have all things considered, like his tenure in Utah didn't exactly come to a great end, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess we'll see.
Wait, what number was Trey Young for? Trey Young
I
was
had Trae Young at 8, and I had Fox at 9, and Brunson at 10. And you, meanwhile, had you had Kyrie at 10. I mean, come on, man. You had
Trey at 9. I named mine.
Trey at
So
9, and then
my 8 is Tyrese Halliburton from Indiana.
whoa, he's not on my
Big,
list. I'll just spoil that. Yeah,
big
I mean,
believe.
I would say he definitely would be 11 or 12, but yeah, he's not on my list.
I mean, I definitely like when that first the Aaron Fox, or I mean, when Hallie was traded from Sacramento to Indiana, people were saying like that they're dumb for picking De'Aaron Fo or they're dumb for picking De'Aaron Fox, right? Was that the
Yeah, it was. Why would you pick Aaron Fox over Halliburton? Because Halliburton has a
yeah?
higher ceiling.
I mean, I do kind
And
of like see
Darren
that
Fox
now.
had something to say about that this season. I would just like to say, and I was
Yeah,
I was on his side. I was one of the 5 people in the entire world who
that
was on his
believed in
side.
Tyrese.
Who believed in
Darren.
Darren Fox.
I mean,
Remember, we had a whole argument about it. I was like the only guy who was willing to stick my neck out. I was like, look, I understand what they're trying to do. They want to pair they want to pair Darren
yeah. Oh
Fox
yeah,
with
I do. Yeah.
a guy who can truly run like a nice pick and roll, short roll, all that stuff. They're trying to design like an offense that's actually built around Aaron, etc. I mean, we already had this whole discussion.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that
You're
my thing is Tyrese, this is like his first season alone in Indiana, and he almost made the playoffs with like Buddy Hield as his second best player. I think that with the same tools that Fox has in Sacramento, he could probably go further than him. And I think he can also become a much better player with like, he doesn't have as big of a shooting limitation as Darren Fox does. So I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him in Indiana. I think he definitely could. He has more to gain than Darren Fox does. He's great, but I just think that Tyrese has a higher ceiling than him at this point, honestly. Yeah.
Tyrese definitely has a bit of that like Jason Kidd, like intangibles. Just kind of sees the game on a higher level than everybody else. Just kind of makes the offense work. He really has a feel for the game,
Yeah.
which I do think that can carry you a long, long ways.
He just needs some better
And
pieces around him, I think.
yeah,
He can make the playoffs next year. It's not that.
he really is like he is in charge of the offense. But you watch him on the court, he's really running the show in a way that I don't think De'Aaron Fox necessarily always is. But
Yeah.
like De'Aaron Fox at the same time is very clearly, at least in my opinion, just a better scorer. Like in
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
much
for sure.
what?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Not as
Oh,
a shooter though. I
I
don't.
think you said not yet. I was like, what do you mean? Wait, wouldn't it be the other way around? No, no. I was gonna say at every level except for from 3 point range. I would say from the mid range, De'Aaron Fox is. I mean, because he shoots at a higher volume than Tyrese does. I'm pretty sure the mid range. So I would give him that. And then as a finisher, both you know just Ed, as a contact finisher, as a uh, both like going through guys, going around guys, the floater game, all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we saw it firsthand. I mean, he's
We saw it firsthand. That is something that Tyrese Halliburton just straight up can't do at least at this point in his career. Which to me always, again, I am somewhat of like a like I like a guy with a bag. I like a guy who's flashy. Um, I love guys who have isolation scoring games, and that's describes De'Aaron Fox more than it describes Tyrese Halliburton. Again, at this point in their careers,
yeah, yeah.
so that's why It's like something you don't have De'Aaron Fox on your list.
No, I do.
You
I,
do. You have him
yeah,
above Tyrese.
yeah, yeah.
Huh. I mean, I do too, but who do you not have? Okay, we'll figure that out later. Um, but anyways, wait, now I was gonna argue with you about why De'Aaron Fox should be over Tyrese, but you have him over Tyrese. So I feel like I'm
Yeah.
arguing with nothing.
I just have him higher than you do, but yeah.
You have De'Aaron Fox. Wait, how is I arguing for De'Aaron Fox and you have him higher than I do?
I don't know.
I was getting ready to launch. I was trying to launch to my whole thing, my whole pitch for De'Aaron Fox. Okay, well I guess. I mean, to be fair, I also don't have Tyrese Halliburton ranked at all, and you do. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but no,
Wait,
like I Tyrese again. Another thing I'm noticing is that I'm trying to think like on like a 2 year scale. Like I'm trying to think like over the past 2 years, where would I rank these guys? Where I think you're really going for like next season, where are they going to be? Which I understand. I just am kind of
I
I'm
mean,
like I I can change it next year if when they show it, But for
yeah.
now, that's where I
I
feel like
think
they're at.
also right now we need to wait till Tyrese has like a better team around a
Yeah,
built around him, like maybe even a better co-star. Like I mean, Sabonis is like a great. It's kind of they're kind of 1A 1B. It's not even like Darren Fox is like better than Sabonis. Some days or some nights it's Sabonis. So
yeah.
I think once
It's
Tyrese
not
has a legit co-star beside him, and also Sabonis and Darren Fox kind of work. They work really well together. It's not
they
like a
do. It's like somebody said they would like a year and a half ago when the trade happened, and I got laughed at for saying
yeah, I don't know.
that.
Wasn't me, but that was my eighth. Okay, so my number seven, I have Jaw, and I'm kind
I
of taking
have
into account the half the season suspension that he's probably
I
gonna.
have Ja at 7 as well. I'm taking it into account as well. I'm also taking into account the fact I've been I would say maybe a bit more skeptical of Ja than some other people have. I think people crowned him a bit too early when he still has some pretty obvious limitations in his game.
Yeah, yeah.
But with that being said, he's also the to me he's the premier high flyer, finish high flying finisher in the league. He's one of the most electric players to watch
Yeah.
night in night out. Which again, as someone who appreciates a player with a little bit of flair, like you got to hand it to him. The guy can absolutely mash the rim.
And he has a great
So
coach. I think,
I mean, that's not really
yeah, it's
not
not
really
really,
much of an argument, but
yeah,
much of
but
an argument. But
I think Jaws, like, he has the tools to be, like, to actually be part of, like, teams that go further in the playoffs. Whereas Tyrese, you don't really know,
he
like,
pushed the
how his team, not that, like, he can't have a co-star come around him, but JJJ is already there and he's already, like, there's talks, and I mean, I talked about this, that JJJ has potential to be the better player than Ja. Like, some people already have him as better player just because of his defensive abilities. So, I mean, I think Jaw definitely has the potential to go further, but I wouldn't say that it would be because he is the best player on the team. So that's kind of where, like, also the suspension, but he probably
well.
wouldn't
Look,
be the best player if they do end up going further. That's my
here's the thing about Ja. He's a point guard who has, compared to a lot of his peers, he has pretty limited vision as a playmaker. He he has gotten better as a shooter, but I don't think he's gotten better in the way that some people thought he would.
yeah, yeah.
Um, he he has a great handle, but he can be a bit sloppy at times. He does over dribble, and I mean, I guess this is going back to the point about him being as a playmaker, but in the pick and roll, he still is mostly just looking to attack the rim and mash. And when he succeeds, it looks pretty damn cool. But when he doesn't, sometimes he loves to go for like 40-foot dunks, which
Yeah, we
I feel
saw
like
against the Lakers. Saw
he's
against
gonna need to cut that. He's gonna need to cut that out, honestly, if like because they don't go in. and it just looks stupid and it's a miss,
Yeah.
and then boom, like the other team's running in transition. But that's the kind of thing, young players use cut they have stuff like that in their games and they cut it out eventually and they turn to a better player all the
He's
time.
kind of he was a young star.
But
Like as a rookie, he was already so
he
good.
really was. Well, that's the thing because he came into the league already just he's so slithery. He has so much athleticism. He has an absolutely killer first step. He can just drive and I mean he can go past guys. It's like they're standing still.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he had that the second he stepped into the league. And that kind of gives him a baseline for where his game can be. And he has it, he's like improved on that baseline, but there's so much more he can add.
yeah,
The
yeah.
question is does he have like, the mentality
The maturity.
to add it? Does he have the maturity to add it? That's come into question, obviously, over the past, I don't know, year or so.
Yeah,
I I have to say the NBA story that I thought this season got the least amount of coverage, at least compared to the amount of coverage it should have gotten, was the laser pointer pointed at the Pacers team bus.
yeah,
And
yeah,
now they're saying that the reason he's getting suspended might be because it was literally a gun, which is what I thought at the time, which is fucking that's fucking insane, dude.
yeah.
To have to
He's
point a
had so
gun at
many
the opposing team's bus.
chances. He's had so many chances to fix his
Well, I mean that's the
mistakes.
thing. He's gonna like even if he gets the 30 game suspension, he's gonna get another chance.
Yeah,
But like this could be his last chance. It really could. Because after a 30 game suspension, if he does another stupid thing, like then you're talking. I mean, because the suspensions only go up. So
yeah.
what are you talking then? Like 60 games a season?
I mean, I've heard
But
talk about like because he's definitely gonna have like at least probably half the season, something like that. I mean, we can assume like 30 to half the season. Like Chris Paul could be kind of fill that role. So I mean, do they still have Tyus Jones? But I don't
they
know if they
do, I
still.
think, maybe.
But CP3 could kind of be a good like filler as long as they have like JJ's healthy, Desmond Bane's healthy. They can kind of coach through the season while he's like suspended, and then
I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, like 2 years ago, the storyline was that they were playing better when he was out. So,
yeah,
like, obviously, there's definitely potential there for them to. I shouldn't even say
fine.
potential. I, I think they'll be fine. Like, he can miss 30 games, and they'll be like right there in the fifth or sixth seed
Yeah,
probably. But and by the way, Tyus Jones is still on the Grizzlies at least for now.
fair. Did you
So,
did you name your seventh or?
yeah, I had Jaw at
Oh
seven.
yeah, okay. All right,
We
my
agreed.
six is Darren Fox. I have him at six. Young
All
dog,
right.
playoff performer, proving it now. First season, but didn't he have like the highest points per game for a first time in the playoffs? I think something like that. He's already
Something like that.
he's already so good.
He did disappear game seven. And he did disappear
This
game
is
seven.
kind of like
He was
the
hurt, so it doesn't really count.
these are the few players that I kind of have like not interchangeable, but like they're so close that like you can kind of move them up or down. Like Jaw, Darren Fox. Who did I have at eight? Halliburton. They're kind of. I mean, I think Halliburton's like a little further out, but they're kind of all pretty close together in talent and potential. So I don't know. I mean, who'd you have at six? Did you say?
Sixth, I had Kyrie. Now, look, here's the thing about Kyrie Irving. He's the most fun player to watch in the NBA, and that counts. I don't care what anybody says, that counts. But beyond that, not only was he the best player down the stretch for the Dallas Mavericks, playing alongside Luka Doncic, and which is something that even Luka fans had to admit. Uh, Kyrie Irving, not that they made the playoffs. It's not like he carried them to anything, but he was carrying them for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Um, okay, you talk about
What did he do the last time he was in the playoffs against Boston?
with Boston or against Boston.
Against Boston.
Didn't didn't
Did he get
exactly
swept? Didn't he
didn't
get
exactly
swept?
shine. He didn't exactly kill it. He wasn't exactly looking like Magic Johnson or Steph Curry or any of the other great point guards. But I still have so much faith in him. He's like a top three most skilled player in the NBA. That matters.
Yeah.
He he has a rare combination of skill with the ball, skill off the ball, the ability to be a catch and shoot player, to create shots off the dribble, to drive and break down the defense off the dribble, and he has playmaking ability, not on the same level as the true premier point guards in the league. I'm thinking of like three or four guys specifically, but he does have playmaking ability. And when he puts it together, and you watch him play in one of those games where he really is like putting it together and playing at his peak, you think, yeah, this is a top five player in the NBA. I will stand by that. But
Top
again,
five
not that
player.
he's
It's like not
top five.
point guards.
He he has games. He has, I would say, about 10 to 15 games a year. You watch him play, and it's like, holy shit, this guy is a legitimate superstar. But he's not there all the time, and that is the thing with a guy like that who has so much talent, but doesn't always put it together. Partially as a result of the fact that so much of his game relies upon like creating an isolation and uh, you know getting his shot to fall, et cetera, et cetera. It is hard to know where to rank a guy like that, especially when
Yeah.
he did. I will admit he pretty much not disappeared, but he didn't play up. Certainly, last time he was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not that he hasn't before. You damn near single handedly beat the Warriors in fucking 2016. Everybody gave LeBron credit. I remember I was watching that series. I was more scared of Kyrie. When Kyrie had the ball, I was more scared. I'll say that as a Warriors fan. He was terrifying. I mean, that was like 8 years
Yeah.
ago at this point or whatever, but he has played up in the playoffs. So I believe he could potentially do it again if they can fucking make it. And if he stays, and if a lot of other things happen, if.
Yeah.
But I'm putting him at six because I stand on what I believe in. And I guess he can disappoint me again if he wants to, but
I mean, I don't want to come off as a Kyrie hater because, like you said, he is so fun to watch. And I remember that there's like a Christmas Day game or something where him, or no, the Lakers came back against him. But he is like every time I watch him, he does some new move that I'm like I've never seen that before. Like, did you like
that's what I was
just
I
come
think
back?
I literally was saying it like we were eating dinner last night. I was saying like he looks like somebody locked him in a gym for 20 years and he just spent the entire time practicing like
Yeah,
dribble moves and and like just like literally like doing like combos like 100 times over because
yeah,
every single part of his game, again, when it's on, every single part of his game is so fluid, it just flows together. He has moves on, he has, okay, like Hakeem Olajuwon, he said you have to have the counter and you have to have the counter to the counter. Kyrie has like the counter to the counter to the counter to the counter. Like he'll flow into seven different combos off of a dribble. He'll a fake into a hezzy into like a weird little like underhanded layup that just miraculously goes in like past three defenders. But
yeah. I
as
mean,
fun
my
as
thing
it is to
is,
watch, as fun as it is to watch, it admittedly it doesn't always translate into
yeah.
winning, especially in the playoffs. So
My thing is like, what have you done lately? And like you said, he did close out the season pretty strong for them, but like the way he forced his way out of Brooklyn, the way he, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he forced his way out of Dallas. I mean, he hasn't, and
wait, but
last
he's
time he was
also
in
a
the
nutcase.
playoffs,
I'm trying.
last time he
I
was,
wasn't factoring that in.
what?
I mean, he is, yes. Admittedly, he is like a nutcase. I wasn't factoring that in. Like, yeah, he is also the most mentally unstable star in the modern NBA,
Yeah, and I
which
mean,
which is unfortunate. Because again, he's
he's
so
just so
talented.
good. Like, I don't want to underrate his talent, but like, I really want to see him in the playoffs. We can see what he's really made of with like, with a legit team that has a chance. I mean, I feel like in Brooklyn, the depth wasn't really there. So, I mean, and I don't think Dallas will ever have that really this season either. So I don't know. It's kind of tough to tell with Kyrie, but
I'm gonna keep him at six. I'm gonna stand on that.
all right.
But yeah,
No. All right, my five is what is it? SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
ooh,
Who do you have at five?
my fifth is Dame Dollar. Who wants to go first? Okay, I have
I think these
SGA
two
a bit.
guys are also like can kind of go either way for me.
You could kind of go either way. I'm gonna say I have SGA a bit higher than that though. I'm a really because I'm an efficiency guy. I could talk about efficiency all day. And okay, wait, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about Dame first. And
They're both like efficient this season, like very efficient. You see, Damian.
in different ways, but yes, Dame is an efficient scorer. Okay, here's my thing with Dame. I don't want to. I have him at five, so I don't want to hate on him too much. But I guess since you have him higher than me, I guess I'll just say why I have him. I have SJ solidly over him. So Damian Lillard to me, he is also among star point guards, not a truly great playmaker, which to me matters. He's a good playmaker, but not a great playmaker, kind of in the same vein as Kyrie.
Yeah.
He insists on living on a diet of incredibly difficult shots, partially because he does not have a truly elite handle to get him better shots, and I think that hurts his game in at least a small way. He takes a lot of off the dribble, contested, step back, fade away, deep
He
threes.
makes them.
He makes them, but okay, but he's he's not Steph. He doesn't make them like that,
Kind of is.
and that matters. He's not, and that matters. And he doesn't play defense, and that's a big thing. Like people really do not talk about it, but he does not play defense. People shit on Harden so much. This is just me being bitter, but people shit on Harden so much for defense. Where is it with Dame? He doesn't fucking play defense. He doesn't do it. He just doesn't. I mean I don't know what to say.
I
And
mean,
that again
I'll
that
definitely give you that he is a poor defender, and especially like his height doesn't make it any better. And Shea is a good defender. Like he's like,
yes,
and definitely he's gonna probably get better if anything.
because he has. I mean that link is like
But I just think that
that's the real difference maker. It's just that the link it helps you bother guys.
yeah, I just think that Dame's shooting. I mean, Shea does have that mid range, but I think that Dame's shooting is just, and especially after this season,
He is
like
still, in my opinion, I think in most people's opinion, the second best shooter in the league. But
yeah. But I do at the same time. I don't. I think Shea's game could translate better into it. Like if you build a team around Dame, it's kind of hard for that team to go further than if you build a team
yes,
around Shea. So I do see it from that perspective, but I just think Dame's efficiency is like undeniable. His shooting is undeniable. Like I
his
don't know.
range is pretty sick.
Yeah.
He is cold. He does have that. He has that factor going for him. He is fun to
Yeah.
watch, but that only gets you so far. And I don't know. I mean, Dame's been in the league for 12 years now. What, is it 12 years, something like that? Maybe even longer.
10.
Only 10?
Yeah,
Really?
or
Wow.
11. This was his 11th. So
11 years. 11 years of never making the finals. 11 years of
never had a good team.
never being on a team that really was like a realistic, genuine contender. 11 years of continued insistence that if you give him a couple years of team building, he will all of a sudden he's going to be leading a team to the finals. And 11 years of him being a superstar without, in my opinion, being held to a lot of the same standards that other superstars are. I know that's
I do
getting
kind of want
the
to
narrative stuff, which
flip
I try not
on
to do.
SGA and
But
Dame now.
With Dame, I feel like you have to. Okay, because here's the thing, Dame, the persona that he puts out into the world of loyalty, of like riding and dying with Portland, of being this like playoff performer, clutch time, like leader of men type player. I just feel like there's not when you like peel that back, there's not a lot behind it. He
Yeah.
doesn't have the accolades. He doesn't he has the game. He is an incredible player. I've seen him go off against the Warriors. I've seen him go. I watched him put up that 70 whatever something like in the bubble or in the playoffs. Was it 2021? What was that playoff game where he was just like
Oh,
basically?
he was like hitting every single thing, but he
I mean,
lost
that was
the game.
it's they did lose the game, but it was like one of the most impressive games I've ever seen, especially in the context that it was in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah,
But with that being said, like they still lost. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because they gave up like 100. I think they gave up like 130 points that game or something
yeah.
stupid like that.
I do also want to see like this is kind of hard to tell like gauge how great they are, but we haven't seen Shea in the playoffs either. We did see him in the play-in, and he was. Oh wait, did we see him in the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, but he was great in that playing game. I remember. I definitely remember watching that playing game. He was so fun to watch. Like his floater, he's just kind of. It seems like he's going so slow, but he just and then he pulls up and it's like a swish, and the guy is like draped all over him. I don't know. I could go either way with him honestly, but yeah, I guess I'll flip Dame and SGA, but it is close. I want to give my respect to Dame just because he had his best season so far yet in his career. So yeah, flip Dame and SGA. So that's my SGA was 5. I had Dame.
Yeah.
Oh no, okay. This is where I have Brunson. 4.
What the what the?
Let's go. Yeah, I do. Wait,
Where do you have Dame? Wait. You Dame at 5. Where do you have SGA?
wait. Oh, okay. SGA 5, Brunson 4, Dame 3. But I could like flip Dame and SGA and Brunson, I guess. They're all kind of all.
Dame SGA, Brunson.
I'm just
Where
saying
is Luca?
Luca is I stopped it at 3, so I still have 2 more.
But where is Jamal?
Oh wait. Oh no, Jamal was my 6th. Wait, what? Oh, I had two.
I knew something was off. I've been thinking about the whole time. I've been like, wait a second.
Yeah,
We're missing either one of Luca or Jamal because
yeah.
I
My
know
list
Steph's
is
one.
my list is all messed up. Okay, I'm gonna bump Kyrie out of my top 10 actually now.
All right, well,
Yeah, I had to.
poor
Okay.
guy. He
Uh,
deserves more respect than that, man.
maybe don't get swept.
Dude, he's
Uh,
a real hooper. That means something.
all right. All right, I'm gonna have Trey at 10. Who's my 9? It's gonna move everyone up 1, 7. Okay, okay. So we were at what name did you? Okay, I had Jamal at 5. So it
You have
went
Jamal at 5. Interesting.
for me. It went Trey, Halliburton, Ja, Darren Fox. That's SGA. Oh wait, no, not SGA at 6. Okay,
Oh, dear.
SGA. Or I mean, Jamal at 6.
Jamal at 6.
Yes.
We just watched him.
Wait, wait.
We just watched him win a championship. What do we mean?
Okay.
I mean, hey, it's your list though. It's your list. It's your list.
And was he the best player in the?
He was not, but he was the second best player, and he was
And
certainly if you take him off the court, I don't know if they win. So
all right. Okay. This is the consequence of doing this last minute, but all right. Trey 10, Halliburton 9, Ja 8, Fox 7, Brunson 6, Jamal 5, SGA 4, Dame 3, Luca. Okay, yeah, Luca 2, Steph 1. Yeah, okay. There we go.
okay,
Makes more sense now.
okay, okay. So this is where so I had Dame at 4. Or no, I had Dame at sorry, I had Dame at 5. Dude, now you've thrown me off.
Yeah,
Now you've
it's
thrown me
gonna
off.
happen.
So okay, I the last player I had said was Dame at 5. Correct? Correct? Do
Yes.
you remember?
And then SGA at 4, right?
Okay, so no,
Jamal at
I
4?
have Jamal at 4.
Okay.
And if you can probably guess, actually no, you probably can't guess. Luca at 3, SJ at 2, Steph at 1. Here's the thing about so
SGA over Luca?
since we've now skipped to the end, this is my big. I had to throw in one hot take, but it's not a hot take I'm making because like just to have it. It's the one thing I really want to like stand on. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm a Luca hater.
Yeah,
I
we
like
know.
I just don't respect his game in the way that every single other human being in the world does, and I'm constantly having to justify it. And here's what I'll say: Luka Doncic, in now year 4 of his career, managed to put together probably except for with the exception of his rookie year, the worst season of his career. He is not trending upwards. He's in fact trending downwards. The issues that have plagued him since his second year continue to plague him, which are his insistence on shooting more threes than he should, and his insistence on shooting bad threes, step back threes, deep threes that he cannot make at a reasonable clip. The strength in his game continue to be the same, and it's beautiful to watch when he's playing at his best. He is the best passer in the league, I believe. I think everybody maybe Jokic might have taken that crown from this up until this playoffs would have happened as the best passer in the league. Maybe Jokic took that crown from him, but I would say he's number 2. If he's not number 1, he's number 2 behind Jokic. He has an incredible ability to manipulate the defense. He obviously is not the most athletically gifted human being by NBA standards, but he certainly knows how to use what he has to beat guys off the dribble. He finds advantages in the smallest things. He gets guys on his back. He gets
Great
guys on his
rebounder.
shoulder.
Great rebounder.
He's a great rebounder. He uses his size. He uses everything he has. With that being said, to me, it does not,
And he's a playoff performer.
and he
What
is a
about
playoff performer. He does score a lot in the playoffs, but to me, it does not negate the fact that he is at this point in his career undeniably trending downwards. He has issues with his fitness. He can't stay fit.
he has issues
Again,
with a bad team. Give him a good supporting cast, maybe.
he has
Maybe.
issues with his fucking attitude. He's a whiner. He's one of the biggest whiners in the league. And I
He is.
don't use
He
that term
is.
out because everybody in the NBA is a whiner. But oh my god, when he doesn't get a call, when he like doesn't get a call, you would think somebody like shot him. He'll be down there for like 3 minutes talking to the ref. He'll let guys go down in transition and score
Yeah,
rather than
that
not
is.
complain to
It's
the
become
ref.
noticeable too. It's not like a
It's
one.
become noticeable. It's become noticeable the fact, and this is like of great personal satisfaction to me that I was seeing Mavericks fans starting to complain about it, and that's when you know it's a problem. When the fans of his own team are being like, dude, you have to like get your get your stuff together, like be mature about it, and go get back on defense and play some defense. Because okay, and by the way, point like C or D or whatever, uh, he still doesn't play defense. And again, it's like now 4 years into his career, it's going to be going into the fifth year. How many years until the things that are the problems in his game go from things that will be fixed in the future to things that are going to be persistent problems? And it's kind of the same thing I feel with Dame, where a lot of the things that
Yeah.
have plagued him his entire career just kind of keep
That,
plaguing him.
I think that Luca has the potential. Like he has the size to be a good defender. Dame is kind of just
He
like
does.
did by
He
six
does.
point six one. So
Yeah, he does. He does. But one thing he might not have is the lateral quickness and the agility. He doesn't have a great wingspan compared again to somebody like the guy I'm comparing him to, SGA, and he is certainly not a peak athlete again by NBA standards.
I mean,
And those are things that matter on defense.
I'm not gonna argue that Luca's a better defender somehow than Shea, but I
Yeah,
just think his offensive upside is 10 times what. I mean, Shea did have a breakout season. I'm not gonna deny he's all NBA, but I just think like Luca has proven in the playoffs and regular season that he's an MVP candidate and he can go far in the playoffs. I mean, I do want to see what Shea can do now with a healthy Chet, healthy
he's
everyone. I think
Luka
the
is three
Thunder have
times
a good
reigning
squad.
future MVP. That's what
Yeah,
I've been hearing. I've been hearing it for 3 years.
he's
He's
yeah,
the
he is
next
always
next
projected.
year's MVP.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason he is that guy, and he does it in the playoffs, which is when it
He,
matters.
I mean, he is. That's the thing. Like, I would like, I just like a whole minute discussing all the things that make him an amazing player. But it's like you have to be reasonable about it. You have to take a step back and say, all right, we have a very large sample size now. We have to evaluate everything in his game, and there's a lot of things that make him special, and there's a lot of things that are starting to become. I mean, to use a cliche, they're starting to become like red flags. I think for me the three big things are shot selection, general attitude, and that includes both like the fact that he's a whiner and the fact that he can't stay fit, and defense. And all three of those things to me are what could potentially separate like a just a superstar of a talented player from like a perennial MVP candidate, which is what people think he is, but like is he that? Meanwhile Shea has gotten better. Shea is like like you ever seen like an exponential graph? That's what Shea's progression looks like. Shea just gets better. Shea has added stuff to his game every year he's been in the league. He's gotten first off, he's turned himself from a good finisher and a good slasher to one of the best slashers and best finishers in the league. He has added basically from nothing. He has added a legitimate jumper. He's not certainly not elite, but it's something he can actually go to and something that defenses are not scared of. He has matured as a passer. He's matured as a defender. He has the physical profile to be genuinely one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Although I will say it's very hard to expect a guy to both carry the load on offense and then turn around
Yeah,
on defense
I
and
think that's what
be
Chet
one of the
is
best
for.
perimeter defenders.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and he also is part of, unlike Luca, he is part of one of, if not the most exciting and brightest young cores in the league. because what they are building down, I not down there. What I'm talking about, it's in the middle of the United States. You can't say over there down. I guess over there maybe.
Yeah.
What they're building out there on the plains is pretty exciting. So that's, I guess, my basic argument for him over Luca. Obviously, it's a hot take. Most people wouldn't agree, but it's something where I think I feel confident saying I could look back. This kind of goes against what I was saying earlier. Actually, whatever. Who cares? I think I could look forward in a year and be like, I said it. I said it first. I called it first. And sometimes you got to call your shots. So, anyways, that's my pitch.
I mean, I do think it's like right now it's definitely a hot take, but I would not be surprised at all if a year from now it's just common knowledge that Shea is better than Luca because he is trending in the right direction. I'm just giving the nod to Luca at this point because he's shown in the playoffs how good he can be. But I
Yeah,
do
I'm.
think
I'm
that Shea, it's kind of like a benefit that he's growing up in a rebuilding franchise that he's gonna have a team around him that is like can kind of help him. Whereas Luca,
he is. I mean, he
he does
has
not.
okay around him. He has Giddy. He has Dort. He has both Jalen Williams. Now he has Chet. I mean, that's like.
That's a good
I
team. That's
mean, there's
borderline
no there's
playoff.
no way they don't. Assuming that they all avoid major injuries, there is no way they're not in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile, Luca, even with Kyrie
He
next
doesn't
year,
have a good team. That's not his
I
fault.
know, but it's like okay, but again, I'm trying to think big picture. Like all of a sudden, you're looking like, is Luca gonna miss the playoffs 2 years in a row? That's not something that a superstar MVP candidate does. Not that I'm saying he will. I mean, he could. I think that Kyrie and Luca, if they put it together, just on the power of them two alone, could easily drag that team to like a 6 seed, 7
Yeah.
seed. But
And
I
then
would
once they're
say,
in the playoffs,
and once they're in the playoffs, I
Luka
mean,
can do anything.
you give the ball to Kyrie, it's just over.
Or Luka.
Luca can step aside. He doesn't even need to do anything. I mean, that team. They need a big dude. Give them like JaVale McGee or something. Give them Dwight Howard. Just like anybody who can
Yeah.
like
There are rumors
rebound and
Dwight Howard might come back. He should.
come back from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Why would he leave Taiwan, dude? He's MJ over there.
But I do
He's
want to
like
talk
MJ's.
about you were kind of surprised about I mean, I did kind of like just change my whole list on you, just kind of threw that in there, but I have Jamal at
Yeah,
only
we didn't talk
is it
about Jamal, and he's like the guy who's the catalyst for this whole
yeah.
discussion.
I only have him at 5. You have him at what, 2 or 3 or where do you have him at?
I have him. I have him at 4.
4. So actually,
4.
we're not really that far off. I thought we were further
Yeah,
off. But I
I
think,
have Luke 3, him 4, and then Shai
yeah.
2.
I mean, I think the thing with Jamal Murray is like,
If that makes.
yes, he did win the championship, and that's like the highest achievement, but he was also playing alongside Jokic, and I don't want to take anything away from him because I think he actually like as the playoffs went on, he showed that he is not just like a compliment to Jokic. He is his own like player. Like he can I don't think he could be a playoff. He could lead a team to the playoffs on his own, but he's certainly not just like a slasher scorer. He is a facilitator, a high
I
level
wouldn't.
shot maker.
I
Go.
mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that because we have him. We both have him ranked over guys who have led teams to playoffs on their own. So if you're saying he can't lead a team to playoffs on his own, we have to revise it all.
I
Revise
don't
it.
think it's like he's like a
Oh
super,
yeah, he sure as hell wouldn't be leading a championship team
especially in the
on his
regular
own.
season. Actually, he's not really a regular season type guy. It's
Well, he hasn't been, but also this season he was coming off a nasty, nasty injury,
yeah, yeah,
and he got better as the season went along, and then peaked in the playoffs. So hopefully we can see him like really, strut his stuff next season. I mean, obviously the big narrative, the big storyline is does he get his first All Star selection? I
yeah.
think everybody as of this moment would agree he deserves it, but we'll see if he proves that next
I
season.
think he'll probably just get it based off what we
Yeah,
know who he is. Like
yeah.
if he
We all
averages like
saw who he is. We know who he is.
yeah, if he averages like 23, 6 and 6 or 6 and 3, he's gonna get it. Just because the Nuggets are gonna have
Yeah,
a high seed probably like 50, 60 wins.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know what there is to say about Jamal Murray because like we all just watched him do everything that he's capable of doing and more.
Yeah.
So, but like he I think proved himself to be a higher level playmaker than I thought he was.
That was like
He proved,
so cool. Like I don't know how he pulled that out, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his handle is it's again, it's not flashy in the same way somebody's like Kyrie's is,
He
but
dribbled
as I
on
was
ice
saying,
though. As a kid, he
he
dribbled on
dribbled on ice as a kid. Dude, I was seeing some of the like his dad had him do some like psycho stuff. He was like putting hot irons on
yeah.
his knees, having him do squats and stuff. I don't know. That seems like kind of low key abusive, but
Yeah.
I guess it worked out. So, but but no, like his handle, he definitely has. I'm trying to think of a comparison. I can't. I guess
He has
I
kind of like
already
a
used.
unique handle where he's under
I already
control, but it's not like he's
I
doing
already used a Steve Nash comparison, but I guess we'll just do it again because I do think that's somewhat relevant. Like a guy who always knows where he's going with the ball and he can get there. Even if it's not flashy, he's gonna get there. And Jamal Murray does the same thing. He kind of picks and chooses his way. He kind of slithers around, sneaks around, like a lot of hesitation, a lot of rhythm dribbles, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's like right there in midcourt. He has his guy on skates. He has the option to pull up or find a man. Um, and it kind of really works well with the two man game with Jokic, because uh, he's not like springing, he's not like going off a quick first step and attacking. It's very methodical, which again, it works so well with Jokic because Jokic is also very methodical. They kind of like work their way through the court together. They just pass it back and forth. Kind of like
yeah, yeah.
you ever seen a rugby? They just like kind of pass it back and forth down the
Yeah.
pitch, kind of like that. And then all of a sudden, boom, easy mid range jumper. They find the open man for a three. Jokic is under the basket. Whatever, whatever. Like
I mean, I'm very
so.
curious, like years from now. I mean, it's really nice, like right now for the Nuggets because they can keep the core of the guys, and they've like people were saying that they're a great offense, so that will probably carry over. But they were also a great defense in the playoffs. So I wonder, like,
They were.
how
I mean,
much
Jokic, like,
to
dude,
Jamal.
I was such a hater on Jokic. I was, yeah, I was stupid. I like everything I said. I really still think was true, but it's just like he just stopped being a bad defender. Just mad. He's like, all right, I'm done. I was a bad defender for 2 years, and now I'm just not anymore because I want to win. Which is, I mean, other people should try that.
I think
Luca
it's also
should
like
try doing that.
Bam is not like that guy in terms of like they Miami needs another like
But it's not just that. It's like it wasn't like okay when the last year when the Warriors beat them. I mean, the Warriors didn't have a guy
destroyed them.
who was going at him in the post, but it was they were pulling him out on screens, and he looked like like a hippo. He was just like fumbling around. He was stumbling. Guys were just cutting past him. He wasn't protecting the rim because he couldn't get back. He was just kind of like staring at guys while they took open threes in his face because he was too scared to go out and contest. And I don't know if it's the teams they played that weren't able to exploit that as much.
Well, yeah,
But
I
again,
think
no,
in the
like
finals, you like their shooters like Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, they don't really have that dribbling ability. So there's not really he can
yeah,
get beat off the dribble obviously by those guys, but there's not
yeah.
much of a threat from them really if he goes out to them.
But there were also some plays where he really like he protected the rim like a true elite rim protector. Which I mean, he's a 7 footer, so it's not that insane. But compared to where he's been, yeah, it was impressive to see. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like in the NBA, most teams' defense begins and ends. Well, not be, I mean, at least it begins with their rim protector.
yeah.
And I always said like, well, if Jokic is going to be a rim protector, a a giant hurdle you have to clear. But all of a sudden that hurdle is gone, and
It's
it showed. It really showed.
incredible. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if that's going to continue, dude, it could be their conference.
And I don't even know, like,
Obviously, there's a
people are
team in the
saying the
Bay that might have
hardest
something to
guy
say
to
about it.
bring people are saying like the hardest guy to bring back will be Bruce Brown eventually, but I don't think that like they probably
Oh God,
should,
no,
but even if
dynasty's
they
over.
lose him, like who really they have to
Yeah,
get
no, dynasty's over. Bruce Brown leaves. What are they gonna do?
I mean, legit. It's not really a big deal when he leaves. So
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Brown played well, but like again, they're called role players for a reason. They fill a role, and there's a lot of guys who can do what he does.
yeah,
I mean, not to say that there have not been cases where a quote unquote role player leaves, and it then becomes apparent later that they were doing a lot more than people gave them credit for.
yeah,
I would say somebody like Otto Porter Jr. on the Warriors, like
yeah.
nobody nobody talked about Otto Porter Jr. last year, but all the things that he did were stuff that nobody on this Warriors team was able to do.
He's just like a microwave scorer, like, and he could rebound really well. He
And he
was
could rebound. He was big enough to rebound. He was big enough to give secondary rim protection. He was big enough to check bigger guys in the post and not get totally, you know, embarrassed on the boards.
Yeah.
And he would knock down like insanely clutch cold threes at important moments, which is something that nobody wanted to do in that goddamn Western Conference Finals. But I guess yeah, back to Jamal Murray. Like the hype on Jamal Murray is definitely at the highest it's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will admit, I guess to say for myself, I certainly could be a bit of a prisoner of the moment. I could be putting him too high because four is very high, especially when we're talking about point guards. There's a lot of superstars I'm putting him over. But you know what? I think he earned it.
And I think like he's proven in that in the playoffs, he definitely shows up. I mean, regular season, he
Yeah,
is
oh yeah.
20, 23 and 3 or something. Like he's not putting up the insane stats in the playoffs, but he legit turns it up in the playoffs. Like it's not just like was a fluke. They came back 3-1 twice when they were healthy, and then the next time they were healthy, winning the championship. I mean, it's not a coincidence that they make these deep runs when they have all their guys. So,
Yeah.
should we transition over to like do you want to talk about just like general free agency, I guess?
Well, let's start with the Heat because that is, I guess that's the biggest topic, like, right? Because they're close, but they obviously have something that's missing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's always an interesting position to be in as especially entering free agency. It's like, okay, so I guess I'll just start it off. Biggest rumor I've been seeing right now,
Game.
Bradley Beal. What do you
Bradley
think?
Beal.
Bradley Beal is what everybody's talking about.
I like
It
it.
it makes sense just on like a base level. Bradley Beal there's no reason for him to be in Washington anymore. It would be the right move for both him
Yeah, I
and
heard
the
didn't Shams come out with a tweet that like they're working together to figure out a trade because he has
they
enough.
are.
So
That's the latest rumor. And
and
like I was
Miami
saying,
is one of those destinations that like players do kind of want to go there because of the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
nice weather, good team, obviously. So I mean,
yeah.
it is on the horizon, I guess. And I think like Bradley Beal, like the biggest knock, like when I first thought about it, I was kind of thinking like he's too small, like he's gonna get exploited. But I think if any team could take on a smaller player and minimize his deficiencies, it's Eric Spoelstra. The way
Yeah, I
he,
mean, and a team with Jimmy and Bam, and I mean Kyle Lowry. I guess Kyle Lowry is he's getting up there. He's getting
yeah.
what is he 38?
But they do kind of like do a defend by committee with how like
Yeah.
Eric Spoelstra, they kind of mix up the coverages. They don't give you
Oh no, I mean they were throwing everything
yeah,
at the Nuggets. It certainly wasn't just like like check your man. I mean not that any team plays defense like that anymore in the NBA. But yeah, I mean they were they were definitely not just letting their guys go out there and try to check people one on one. So look, as long as you have, in my opinion, Bam certainly didn't have the best playoffs in general. He had some tough moments, especially in the finals. But
he
he is
has too big
still
of a role. Like if he's
he really
relied on
does,
to
man.
be
Which is exactly why you need somebody like Beal who can take some of those shots. Like because you can't have Bam being your second option. You just
yeah,
it's
yeah,
I don't I I really don't think he's Bam is ever going to be a second option on a championship team on offense. But he is such a good defender, and in my opinion, a defender of Bam's caliber can cover up 100 Bradley Beal. That's
yeah.
just my opinion. I think especially with the way teams play defense now with pre-rotations and all that stuff, like they'll find a way to let Bam roam, and you can cover up a Bradley Beal to the point that it's not going to matter too much.
Yeah, I definitely believe that Spoelstra can cook something up to
Yeah,
make him not really like a factor really. But also like I've heard about Dame maybe going there, but I don't really know how. I know like
Dame's
a lot
committed
of
to staying in
C.
Portland like he's been for the last 8 years.
Yeah, yeah. I
He's
mean,
that's the latest tweet I saw. He came out and said it again. It's like seeing
get it.
the I don't know. It's like seeing the seventh sequel for a series for a movie franchise that's
Yeah.
gone on way too long. But yeah, he's committed to staying again.
I mean, the
It is
Heat
what it
definitely
is.
have the pieces for a trade like for the Wizards to get Miami. I mean, I'd be fine with trading Hero.
I mean,
To get,
Washington, they should give him to them for free just to get rid of his contract.
I
Like
mean,
they don't.
Hero does kind of work out perfectly. If you want to rebuild, he's a solid piece to
Yeah,
not
they
build
had
around, but
Washington has nothing to lose. That that contract situation and that roster is so disgusting.
Yeah.
Like it is you talk it is the definition of a of mismanaged, you know, salary situation. They should do again, in my opinion, Washington should be doing everything in their power to dismantle that roster piece by piece. And if Bradley Beal is a great start because obviously he's on the max,
Yeah.
and getting rid of that max is huge. And also getting rid of the guy who's going to drag you to like 35 wins again is that's also important.
Yeah.
But like, dude, oh my God, I was like looking at Washington's roster, just like I was looking at Spotrac, which is like the contract website, shows you all their contracts. I mean, you talk about just blunder after blunder after blunder from a front office. You have it all. You have a max given to a guy who doesn't deserve a max. You have bloated contracts given to role players. You have bad draft picks. You have
Mediocrity. Just
mediocrity, just constant mediocrity to the point that you're picking at like 12, 13, 14 in the draft, so you're not getting top quality prospects. It's just there has never been a franchise that is in more desperate need of rebuild in the current Washington Wizards.
yeah, I definitely
But
agree.
you know that's a bit of a tangent. Bradley Beal to the Heat, I love it. I really love it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good like change of like I don't really think they should just run it back with the same group of guys. I think Bradley Beal definitely adds something new and like it shows that they're committed to this Jimmy Butler, Bam, like kind of thing that they have going on and they believe in it. I mean, it made a finals
I
run.
mean, why wouldn't they be? They made two finals. They made
Yeah.
how many Eastern Conference finals? Four or three?
Yep. Last year, this year, bubble. Yeah, three, I think.
Three. Yeah,
But
three in a not three in a row. Three in a row?
no, the year the Bucks won,
Was it didn't did the Bucks play them in
beat them in
the?
like the first round, I think.
Oh, okay, never mind. Never mind.
It's definitely shown
Yeah, that was when they were calling them the Bubble Guppies because they came out and like
they got
kind of played
destroyed
like
by the
kind of
Bucks.
played like dog shit. Yeah, but man, that was fun. That kind of sucked. It kind of ruined the narrative. Ah, man, as a guy who tries to go with the bubble was a fluke narrative, that did ruin it. The fact that they ended up actually being like a real core, but it still was a fluke, and it doesn't count. But anyways, I'm trying to think of other free agent storylines
I mean, do you see like other teams trying to like what do you see like other teams are gonna try to solve the Jokic problem?
that
I don't
yeah.
know like what this like is it just are we gonna see a bunch of people trying to sign size like centers are gonna like that's why I was kind of thinking Dwight Howard might come back in not to like start or anything but just to get another body for a team to like throw at Jokic just because let's try to overwhelm him or something. I don't really know like what teams are gonna try to make it
Well,
work.
I mean, one of the things is like this year's free agent class. This year's this year's free agent class is pretty weak. Like, okay,
Is it like
let me
Fred
look.
Van Vliet like the best?
Um, oh yeah, it's the guy who screams playoff contingent. That's the guy who screams a piece on on a championship team and not
He is.
inefficient, undersized, and I mean, he's literally gotten worse. He's like gotten consistently worse since they won that championship. At least, I guess a better way to say it would be his role has been forced to increase, and he has not been up to that task.
Yeah.
I guess would be a better way to say it. But yeah, I mean, he does not excite me. Um, if you're looking at guys who actually like might excite me if I was like a team looking for like a potential piece, Kevin Love, he's old. He had an absolutely vintage stretch of like 5 minutes in that finals game. I think on the strength of that alone, I would sign him as a depth piece. Um, I don't know who it's going to be. I think he's kind of a guy who, at this point in his career, he could probably play a role for any team because he shoots, he's a
Yeah.
big body, he plays on defense, et cetera, et cetera. He's certainly not the kind of player who like demands a role anymore. So like he can go wherever. Other than that, like Jeremy Grant, maybe he's not the most efficient scorer, but also like part of that could be he has been forced to take more shots than he probably should be taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he has the length to be a good defender. I I don't want to like speak out of turn. I don't know how great of a defender he's been. I would have to like I wish I had like a Trailblazers fan here to tell me.
I mean, I think it
But
all depends on like it would depend on how the coaches can scheme against each other because the coach would have to somehow solve like even with great personnel like the Lakers, I thought they had like such great personnel to try to slow Jokic down, but they had no answer for it. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's just so
I,
tough.
I guess to really like answer the core of your question, I don't think there's a personnel change that can solve that problem. I think it has to be coaching and like putting the right puzzle pieces together, and maybe getting a bit lucky, or just maybe something internally like on the Nuggets fracturing or not working as well as it did this
Yeah,
year
yeah. But it
too.
seems like
Again, yeah, yeah. The one like comparison that I keep drawing to try to like keep context is like the Bucks in 2021, they looked really good. Everybody said it was going to be their Eastern Conference, it was going to be their NBA, and then they go out the next 2 years and they don't really live up to that.
Chris
So
Middleton
it's
was
it's
injured that next season.
Chris Paul was injured, and then Giannis was injured, but it's possible for a team to keep all their pieces together and never find that magic combination they found that one year. That is a thing that can happen.
I mean, I think that what the Nuggets should do to like kind of maximize like health is like I guess like rest Jamal and Michael Porter. Like whenever if you feel like they should rest, like rest them and just Jokic on his own, he's shown in his MVP seasons and this year when he didn't win it, he can just ride you to a playoff position just like on his own with random guys around him. Like it doesn't really matter. But then once the playoffs start, Jamal and Michael Porter and all your other guys will be healthy for another deep playoff run. I think it is like they're in such a good position right now where everyone's trying to figure them out, and there's no
They
way.
are.
Like I don't know, it's
Also, if you're talking about bigs, Jakob not not too shabby on it. Jakob he absolutely I think is the kind of guy who has a place as a role player in a championship team.
yeah, yeah,
He does a lot of little things. He provides you with a bit of shooting from your center spot. He plays with toughness. He crashes the glass. He does a lot of those things that you need from a role player. Um, I mean, but again, like just like I would invite you take a look at the list of free agents. I don't know. Maybe I'm being cynical. I'm not seeing a lot of Brooke Lopez. But
oh,
again, does he might just
he
return to
might
Milwaukee, so
he might leave. I mean, if it's not
he
looking
could leave. I mean, if he wants to, he could.
good. Yeah. Anyways,
But
you wanna wrap it up there, or did you have any other
yeah.
points? Did you want to?
Actually, just really quickly, like if you're talking about just to give a shout out to Brooke Lopez, if you're talking about bigs who could potentially give maybe throw throw a bit of a wrench in the whole Nuggets operation. Brooke Lopez he disrupted piece on what has consistently been like a top five defense in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Or maybe not underrated. People, I
and that
think
doesn't
he
always translate to like
doesn't always translate, but and he is getting old. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess just if you're thinking purely about like bigs to
yeah.
give Jokic
He's
problems,
definitely yeah.
yeah,
It just seems like there has to be a certain type of big. Like it can't just be like you're because I mean Anthony Davis is 10 times the rim protector that Brook Lopez is. I don't care
yeah.
about
Well,
any like regular season stats that
okay,
Brook
but like
puts up, but
I mean, but then you're just saying like you're gonna win it every year. Like it's
I mean you
like
have to come up with like a schematic way to
that's
like
not no, that's what I'm saying. So like throwing aside the idea that Jokic is just gonna be able to beat because again, if your criteria is well, he beat AD, so he can beat X player, then yeah, that's everybody. Like if he was able to,
that's why
he took everything that AD threw at him, and he swatted it aside. He said, "No, I'm just going to keep scoring. I'm going to keep playing my game, and I'm going to keep winning." So yeah, personnel is not the answer. It's got to be scheme.
yeah,
But I kind of feel like yeah, we are kind of running out of steam. So I guess we could end it there.
yeah,
Closing thoughts. Yeah, the league is now on Jokic and Murray watch, and it's
for sure.
the league is on Nuggets watch. The league is looking at the Nuggets and saying, "Please God, one of you guys get injured because we don't know what to do."
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I guess that'll close it out for this week. See you
This
guys next week.
yeah, this next week.